Welcome to the Pastor Study Hill Smooth 88.1 WHOV iHeartRadio right here, y'all, on Facebook Live. We got almost everybody in the house. Let's first start with who's not with us today. Bishop Ray Johnson, y'all, on this weekend, he's going to be consecrated into an office of the bishop officially. So we're very happy and proud for him. He's taking care of his duties to prepare for that, so he's not with us today. But we got everybody else in the house. Commonwealth Attorney, City of Hampton, Anton Bell is with us. We want to pause just for a second and just say to Commonwealth Attorney Bell that we're praying for him. You know, for those who don't know, his mother transitioned last week. And so we continue, Commonwealth Attorney, man. We're glad that you're on today. You're in our thoughts and prayers, man, as you go forward. You know we support you and we love you and your family. We have with us also Dr. Alvian Lyons, doctor, because she got 2 doctorate degrees. He's with us. We got the 95th that's represented today. Delegate Marcia Price is in the house, and producer extraordinaire Jason Covington is with us. Glad to see you today, sir. Now,
I'm actually Ray Johnson today. I got my Lions background.
That's your line background? Okay, you doing some new stuff, I see. Okay. Listen, y'all, October is a busy month, as we know. There's a lot of, all these months got a lot of titles to them. But October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Domestic Violence Month. And so what we decided as the crew is to kind of talk about and raise awareness to some of these issues that are not always publicized, stuff that we don't always talk about in our community, because we like to walk around and act like everything good and present ourselves a certain way when we know it ain't true. So we gonna take the lead today and opening up and kind of sharing with the hope that you'll start doing it and realizing that it is okay to share. So we want to start with Delegate Price, because Delegate Price has been very, very courageous. Recently, she opened up about a health experience that she's been having for a while, and she decided to share that, and we felt like the listening audience needed to hear her story. So Delegate Price, first of all, thank you for your courage, and just kind of share with us, what it is that you've been experiencing, and just talk through it with us.
Yeah, well, first, I absolutely have to say thank you for this opportunity to raise awareness. And I really am excited about the conversation and who we might be able to inspire to speak about their own stories. So thank you for your leadership in deciding to do this. But when I was 16, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I'm 42 now, so 16 was quite a while ago. There was so little information about what it was and what it did that basically once you got the diagnosis, they were like, yeah, you're going to have trouble getting pregnant. So, kick rocks. And then once you're ready to get pregnant, we'll talk. But what folks didn't know then was all of the other stuff that's involved with it that, I was not interested at the time in having children. But there are all of these other things. And so it's a hormonal disorder where it can come with cysts on your ovaries. It could come with infertility. There's interruptions in your sleep. There could be insulin resistance. A lot of women with PCOS are also type 2 diabetic. With their 1 in 10 women have PCOS in the United States. But then of those, a significant number end up having cardiac events. So we're at higher risk for heart disease and heart attacks. And there is chronic pain. There's some of the most embarrassing and it, I'm trying to keep it together, but some of the most embarrassing things when it comes to beauty standards in America and like what's happening with bodies of people that have PCOS, excess facial hair. I've talked about it on the show before, that my hair is thinning, and so the braids really help me to be able to hide that. But there are a lot of factors that really impact the quality of life. But I think for me, the worst has been the chronic pain since I was 16. And so, one, you never know what somebody is going through when they show up in a room. Since 16, I would show up into rooms and be expected to perform at the same level of other people at the same time. Like my literal insides feel like I'm being punched, And I saw on TikTok that there is a period simulator at this booth. That it was like a rodeo event where guys would get, they would put electrodes. Did you see that, Alvin? They would put like electrodes on men and simulate the pain that we feel in our periods. And some of the guys were hopping off before it even got to a 3. Well, on that, a 5 was a normal period, but some of us live with pain at about an 8 or a 9. And it's not just 1 week. Again, I'm sorry for those that need to get acclimated to this conversation, but we're going to talk about some things that we don't usually talk about. There's some of us that had our menstrual cycles for 3 weeks out of the month. So 3 weeks of pain on, 1 week off, then 3 more weeks of pain. I lived like that for years. And, some of my teachers that I didn't talk to, they're just like, what's wrong with you today? You're not performing. Like, you're a straight A student. Why are you getting B's? And I'm like, bro, I just want to go home. But sometimes girls are taught to devalue what it is we're experiencing in order to perform. I had perfect attendance in all of high school while I was doing this. What was I learning when I was crouched over in the corner, like going through all of this pain? So then you fast forward, get to college, and everybody's talking about, finding a husband or a wife and having kids. And I just felt so ostracized from those conversations because I didn't know if that was going to be in my future. I didn't know if it was something I wanted. But luckily, a lot of research has really come out since then. And then you move into adulthood, and I just was silent about it. Like, I didn't really want to tell people that I'm less of a woman because, I can't do this or that. And people are, expecting me to continue to be this, well put together thing. And when I'm out dating and having to, get into deep relationships to find out, bro, I can't have kids, or potentially can't have kids. All of that, what that does to someone's mental health is, I mean, we'll get into it. But if you fast forward to 2017, I believe it was either 2017 or 2018, I had become delegate and a high school student at the time. I had more of Hampton in the district that I represented. Amaria came to me, and she was a Bethel High School student. She said, hey, I have been diagnosed with PCOS and not enough people are talking about it. And so you're my delegate. What are you going to do about it? And I'm looking at Tempest, because Tempest, my chief of staff, she knew. She's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, not this baby telling me that I've been silent my whole life about, something. She had no clue that I had it also. So, I mean, I left that meeting just in tears, but I was also inspired by this child in front of me who was so bold, because she was like, well, I got this diagnosis. I need more information. Where can I go? So I understood that other people needed that information as well. And I had a platform. So why not use my platform to help bring awareness to it? So that year, with Amaria's inspiration and help, we actually passed a resolution to make September PCOS Awareness Month in Virginia. And it is also a national celebration as well. So then, I stood up and kind of, from the floor of the General Assembly, told a couple of things. The number of calls that my office got within the week after that, women all across the Commonwealth, I've never talked about it, but you talked about it in public. How did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but if a high schooler can do it, I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And so it's just really snowballed into this wonderful community of people that we refuse to suffer in silence anymore. And so that's why I really am just so thankful for this platform to be able to talk about it, to bring awareness. And so before we, jump into it, just want to say, if you know someone, if you think about it, who might have like darkened skin at their neck, they might have be overweight, they might have excess facial hair, they might have acne and hyperpigmentation. Instead of calling them dirty or calling them fat and telling them that they're lazy, maybe look into what might be some of the causes of it. So that's one thing that I would say. But being bullied as a kid about, some of this stuff really changed some of the trajectory and why it took so long for me to have self-confidence. So that it's just, making sure that we're not jumping to conclusions, to allow for people to ask questions and feel safe to tell about, talk about their stories.
Wow. Again, thank you for sharing it. I know this is something that is deeply personal to you. And, we off the show are like brothers and sisters. And I know when you share this with us, part of it for me, and I think I can speak for the men here, PCOS is not something that I've ever even heard of or familiar with. So you're talking about you were diagnosed at 16 and have been dealing with it. Like, how common, or do you have any, like, how common is this disease, I guess? Because, again, most people, I don't know, Todd, Jason, have y'all ever heard of PCOS? I've never heard of it before.
No, I had never heard of it until Marcia brought it up. And I saw her article in the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I didn't know a deep dive about it, but I've heard the term.
Yeah. So my first question is, how prevalent is this? Is this is this like, I know you gave some statistics, but is it like a lot of people or a few people? Kind of, can you give us context into that?
It's a lot. I want to say it was about, I think 5 million, but it breaks down into 1 in 10. So if you look out into, a courtroom, or you look out into a church congregation, 1 in 10 of those women might have PCOS. And when you think about that, that's a lot of people in them rooms that might be going through stuff. And here's the thing, not until more recently is it being proactively talked about, but you had to kind of know to be tested for it. And if you're walking around not knowing what you don't know, then you may not end up getting some of the treatments. But like I said, there's been a lot of progress. Even some private insurance companies are covering a lot of the symptoms and also some of the treatments that can help. So say, for instance, one of the things that a lot of us are really attuned to right now is this conversation about contraception, oral contraception, and long acting, I forgot the R, but like IUDs and things, the ones that have hormones are what a lot of us take in order to have normal lives. So when you hear the Supreme Court might be coming after contraception, there are unintended consequences to it, that they think that they're having a conversation about this, but some of us are like, but wait, do you even know what, all of the ways that contraception might be used medically as well, while you're having this like, power dynamic conversation. So that's something that, we're concerned with, but yeah, it's just chronic pain, chronic disruption of a quality of life, that it just is the marker of it.
Yeah, and to think that, if you're watching us on Zoom, y'all, we're looking at Marcia now, beautiful, put together.
Yep,
And
pretty as she is.
Nothing would suggest that for most of your life you have been dealing with chronic pain, right? And that kind of is how we do what we do in our community, which is why we're having this conversation, because for so much of us, as long as we got the right clothes on and driving the right car, we presenting ourselves, but there's a lot of pain underneath. And Alvin, I want to come to you because, part of what Marcia has just done is not only have a conversation about PCOS, but really have an open conversation about what women go through, because that's not even always openly discussed. Like men, we just in the dark. Let me just say that. We don't really have these conversations where we really get to understand all that you all go through. And in particular, Black women. So shed some light on that for us, Alvin.
Well, I mean, we have, and you're so right about it. There are dynamics and expectations for all of us, both women and men, but because we're really focusing on women for this particular element of our talk today, we'll stay in that lane. But as women, we've talked about beauty standards, and there's an expectation of perfection associated with us. We're never supposed to have a headache. We're always supposed to be in the mood. We're always supposed to be happy to see you. We're always supposed to be, demure and kind, and all of these things that are part of this caricature of what it means to be a woman. And because of that, and those messages are taught to us so early on, like before you even learn to walk good, like we're already doing the boys don't cry and, be tougher and well, it's just her feelings. And then when a woman has something to say, oh, she must be on her period. I mean, there are these associations that we're making, and we internalize those as much as we try to protect against them. The reality is we do internalize those as women. And so being able to talk about the things that happen, particularly with our reproductive systems, there are a couple of things that are sensitive for a woman: her face and her hair and her honey pot. Okay, like so so when something's wrong with the honey pot, it's a problem, and we don't like to discuss that because of the judgment that we feel will come with that, and your beauty also includes the perfection of the honey pot too, so if you're having hormone issues, if you're having bleeding issues. I struggled with fibroids, so I have had a cycle that lasted 51 days, so much so, okay, like that we had renamed it. It was now called rose petals because we needed to find a way to embrace this thing and move around it. Okay. And I won't get too detailed, but Matt and I like each other a lot. So we were trying to figure out how we're going to move around this and have conversations about it that didn't feel like, oh my God, this is still going on. We had to recalibrate our communications even around it, the way in which we were together. The list went on and on, but 51 days, it made me profoundly anemic. I lost a ton of weight. That anemia triggered IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. So my intestines were on fire over it. So I had to change my entire diet. And that diet then meant that there are certain things that I'd be cautious about eating and other things that, I would have to eat lots of. It made me funny about when I went out because I didn't want it to trigger anything, because the last thing you want to do, and as women of color, we're not trying to do nothing in nobody's public bathroom. So you're not trying to have any problems out in the street. So it started to change even how I socialized and all of this. And you're a public figure, you got to figure out how to do this without alarming anyone. So and inconveniencing anyone. And when people all came to hear you speak or for you to deliver the product that you're here to deliver, nobody cares what your little personal problems are, because you're supposed to come here, be attractive, be smart, have your things together, do your job, sis. And we could talk about all that other stuff later if we have time. So and don't let you be a mom on top of it too. You got to go home and do this and take care of the kids and make sure you're a superwoman. I mean, so yes, Kevin, layers and layers and layers that we navigate trying to be something that we accidentally ingested as children, that standard of perfection. Do it just right, be just right, because after all, you're a woman. That's what you're supposed to do.
And
and a black woman at that.
Oh, yes.
That adds another layer. Yeah, go ahead, Sid.
So exactly what Alvian was saying, right? So, I was in this friend circle and everybody was encouraging me to be my authentic self. And, they were really earthy, and they were like, you don't need makeup, and, don't perm your hair. This is, back when before I stopped and went natural, and all of these things, just show up as your natural self. I showed up as my natural self during one of those rose petal, whatever, the harsh time. And everybody's like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Are you sick? Girl, go back inside, get yourself together. And so even when people say they want the real you, they do not understand what they're saying when they say that. And oftentimes they don't really mean it. They just want to seem like they're welcoming. But if we show up and you contract us for a service, whether we're preaching, whether we're speaking, whether I'm presenting a bill, like there is no space for me to be a human. I am
No.
boiled down to what I am able to produce. And if
Yes.
my worth is based on what I can produce, and I have something that is standing in the way of my highest production value, then I might internalize that I'm not worthy because I can't produce as much. But I'm like, but yo, if I'm in pain, if I'm sick, I'm supposed to be able to rest and recharge in order to get back to it.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, Alvian, but it's taken 42 years for me to get to, I'm gonna go take care of myself, because y'all, the public, would replace me in 5 seconds if something happened to me. So I had to learn to switch and prioritize my health and be able to say, no, I can't do that, and not apologize after it, and not offer the explanation, but no is a full sentence, right? That is a hard lesson, Pastor.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And one that you have to talk to yourself about constantly.
Every day.
It's not a one-time decision, because
Right.
you'll want to drift right back into stuffing it. You actually have to remind yourself to take care of you.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, we're having a very awesome conversation. And thank you, Delegates Price, for being so transparent in telling your story about PCOS and how you've had to navigate it since 16 years old, what it means, the things that nobody really has known. You had an article in the paper. We'll get to all of that if you're just tuning in. But we just thank you that we can have this space to have these kind of conversations. I want to go to the fellas real quick before I get back to Sia. Todd and Jason, Todd, your first reaction, man, just kind of hearing their stories about what really they go through and experience that sometimes we as men don't even think about nor have to deal with.
So when I hear stories such as Marcia and Albion and others who just go through such challenges with their health and not just with their bodies, but just being a Black woman in general, it really irritates me when I see fellas dog our sisters. It takes it to another level for me, because as y'all know, I cannot stand a trifling Negro. I have said it many times. And so, and I'm consistent with saying that. And so when I hear their stories of, and I call it stories really of victory, because for you to still be able to maintain such high standards of life, quality of life, of professionalism, having attained certain levels of public victory, that speaks to the strength, the inner strength that you have, and that I think women have in general. And women in general are so devalued in our community, in our nation. And it has always been that way. And so when I hear these stories of strength and stories of valor, it does make you more aware of making sure as men, we make sure that we protect our women, that we value our women, that we make sure we affirm our women so that they know that we are standing with them. Because secrecy comes because you feel like I can't be open. I can't be vulnerable. I can't share something that may necessarily be considered a weakness to you. And so as a result of that, I have to hide and keep things kept inside. And that alone can cause greater issues, greater stress, mental issues, the whole nine. And so I applaud you, and I applaud you as well, Al. But as men, we got to do better.
100%. Because you know what, I'm hearing these stories and what they had to go through. We get a cold, man. We out for 5 weeks. I'm saying we can't even function. We got sniffles. We can't even function.
Come on now.
I'm like a baby. We're all like
Come
babies.
on, man.
We're all like babies.
Oh,
when we get sick.
I can't breathe.
Come on.
Jason, come on, man. What's your thoughts on all this, man?
First of all, see you and Dr. Alvin, Lyons Doctor. Definitely appreciate you all sharing your story. I'm like big brother Anton. I'll forever be a protector of Black women. It infuriates me to no end when I see and hear of our brothers and our vanilla counterparts degrade and make decisions and say this is what a female should do with their body. And then they come and say, well, it's not their body if they're doing. No, listen. If the tatas are on them, it's their body. If the vajayjay is on them, it's their body. They should be able to decide. We can debate morals and ethics later, but when we're talking about what's on you, because here's the thing. This is a PG rated show. So we don't ever tell a male what they have to do with their genitalia, but we're quickly ready to tell a female what they need to do. So for me, it frustrates me because people they don't want to say that racism, all that stuff is still rampant. So on top of being Black, you have to deal with these other things as a woman, and you have to be. I tell my daughter all the time, you got to be twice as good to get half of what they already have, and they'll never understand it. So what you're saying, you have to be on, no pun intended, all the time, no matter how you feeling. And then I had to check a couple of my friends when a female would say something. Oh, she's just on her period. Hey, bro, you don't know what's going on with what she. You don't know what she had to leave to get here to do what she has to do. And then I as Pastor Ray Johnson would say, I'm gonna channel my Pastor Ray today as well. It also is overly frustrating when females have to justify their worth and they have to tell you about their experience and you still don't even believe it once they give you their experience. So it's like, I show you my resume and I still got to go back and prove myself. So not only am I a female, I'm a Black female with health disparity. And on top of that, the government will not even help me if they will help my vanilla counterpart do what she needs to do. So for me, like I get upset when I hear Black men and white men talk trash about our Black sisters. I'm affectionately called Huck. I'll come find you, and they won't find your body for 2-3 years. And when they do find, they ain't gonna know who you are.
Metaphorically.
It's
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
We got a Commonwealth attorney on here, so we got to be careful.
Yes.
So listen, if you're just tuning in, we're having a conversation that started with Delegate Price and talking about PCOS and her experience with being diagnosed with PCOS since she was 16. Delegate Price, I want to come back to you, and I want, for those who may have tuned in late, to again tell us what PCOS is. And then I want you to talk about you mentioned it, but I really want you to speak to the mental aspect of it. I know the physical condition, but mentally speaking, how has PCOS impacted you? You talked about sometimes the challenges of getting along as when you were younger and being your authentic self. How has that been for you, even as you've gone into adulthood?
Yeah, so thank you again for the opportunity to raise awareness. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and we had discussed the story of our establishing September as PCOS Awareness Month, but as other health disparities are being discussed this month, we're going to continue to talk about a lot of the things where, you know, our community is often suffering in silence. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a hormonal imbalance where typically there is a lot of testosterone and not enough estrogen, and it can cause things like early thinning hair, even baldness in certain spots, excess facial hair, being overweight, type 2 diabetes, cardiac incidents, higher incidences of heart attacks, sleep apnea, acne. I mean, the list goes on, but chronic pain is part of that. So when you talk about the mental health aspects, just imagine being, you know, this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed teenager and being told that you're lazy or that you're fat or that you're ugly or that, you know, you're not what you're supposed to be, right? And this was happening in the late 90s where it was also, as is now, heavy diet culture. So I remember when you talk about mental health, I remember that while I was working at my dad's dental office, hanging out one summer, and one of his employees took me out to, I think it was like Farmore, one of the pharmacies or whatever. And she said, you can get whatever you want. And one of the things that I got out of that entire store was Slim Fast. And I was at that time, I was 14. And all of these things that I was doing to really like become something else, I was, killing myself with the diets. I was killing myself with the exercise. I was trying to do all of these things. Lo and behold, a lot of the things that might help someone else lose weight were actually countering what I was trying to do. A whole bunch of cardio is actually harmful for PCOS and can cause you to gain more weight. So instead, it's like strength training, like what I'm doing now at Better Body 757 with my trainer, Susan. Like, I am lifting weights and becoming the strongest I've ever been. And my levels are like really coming together. I'm getting healthy. And it's a wonderful thing once you understand what it is your body needs. So, y'all might need something else. I need something. It's not a cookie cutter thing. The other part of it is this identity of what womanhood is. So as I was, growing into womanhood, a woman is, and is always synonymous with mother in a lot of conversations. So you tell someone a woman is a mother, but then you also tell them you may not be a mother. Then that's another hit to self-confidence that I'm not woman enough. And what really is I think harmful, because it is a lot of testosterone and likening the way that Black women who are strong and who may be dominant, likening them to being too masculine or being too mannish, that had extra meaning for me, because I'm trying to process, why do I have all this testosterone and not enough estrogen? So even my identity as a woman was just, took years for me to get to. And those that maybe in the LGBTQIA community, when those links are made that there's something wrong with us, when we're just trying to be our true, authentic selves, how do you grow up as a confident woman in that? And I'm going to tell you, in addition to the mental health aspect, where it might have been depression, lack of self-confidence, where y'all know bad decisions come with that, where it might be self-medicating or, whatever someone might want to do. The other part of it is the spiritual impact, where literally I'm 16 asking, well, God, why did you do this to me? Like, why would you put this on me if all of this other stuff is going to come with it? And having to really mature in my faith to understand that God was going to bring me through it, that God was going to bring me to this moment today with you beautiful, wonderful people to have these conversations. But there's enough on people as we're trying to develop in our faith, in our minds, and in our bodies, for all of these extra things to hit it as well. And then on top of that, trying to become who you want to be while in constant pain. So I don't know, like I'll answer any question anybody asks me, but that's kind of, the life.
So take us through then. Where are you now mentally? How do you, you described what it was like for you at 16, what you had to go through. But what about now? And are you at peace with yourself? And if so, how did you get there? Right. And, what about the newspaper article? Like, what, I know you talked about the young lady who approached you, but why do this now?
Yeah, I definitely am at peace with a lot of aspects of it. Like, I've been big my whole life. So somebody calling me fat doesn't even faze me anymore, because I know who I am. But I was struggling with, the amount of money it would take to potentially help me get pregnant. And I'm not speaking for anyone else, I made the personal decision that that money would be better spent on other things. And so I have redefined my idea of what motherhood is. I am Tia Sia for a ton of kids in the community. I am a safe space that they can come to. I have a mothering nature. My favorite person in the whole wide world is my 7-year-old nephew, and just being an auntie and what this means to be an auntie in a community. I've really embraced that role. I've also said that, if my life should ever calm down, I'm very much open to fostering and adopting. And so I've really just opened up my definition of what mothering could look like, or what a mother figure could look like. I get Mother's Day cards from kids that I'm not really their godmom, but they call me their godmom. And that's just reaffirming where I know I'm a woman, right? And I know that I have a feminine nature when I'm out into the world. And I also have masculine attributes. I am balanced, even if my hormones aren't, right? I think my list of accomplishments helps boost the self-esteem, but in valuing myself, I think the parts where I still struggle are, and this is again being fully transparent, the best thing about the pandemic, and I'm being funny, but aside from the fact that it's a serious thing, but that best thing about it was I could wear my mask. So in case I forget to shave, nobody would know because I'm behind the mask. And so all these women with PCOS, we're laughing about that online, but it is the physical things. Will I have to, cut my hair? What will I look like as I age and as this continues? How will it be received? Because I haven't found my forever love yet. Is that possible? So those things they honestly still do play, but I also know that if you don't want to be with me because of something that I have that I am battling every day and winning, then you're not meant to be in my circle, because that also means that you weren't going to be supportive of me on my worst day, that you weren't going to be understanding that I may not be able to live up to all of your expectations because I'm in pain, right? And so it's this empowering moment of knowing that if I am to find someone that wants to be in my life with all of this, that they really, really want to be there. And I think just the idea that even just telling this story today could positively impact someone to go to the doctor to get checked out so that they could get the help that they need and get on any of the medications that they need in order to live a higher quality of life. That's it. That's my purpose. I'm really like okay with that. And then spiritually going through seminary, I've just grown so much in understanding who God is, what God's all about, what God has called me to, and this idea of we will continue to relive things until they are relieved. And we only relieve something by talking about it, by getting people to the help that they need, by erasing the shame. And so that really is a part of the ministry that I look forward to continuing to do.
Yeah, this is wonderful today. And just fantastic. I'm so proud of you, Delegate Price, and you being courageous enough to share some very sensitive and very personal aspects of your life, knowing that you are a public figure. And so hopefully, like you said, others will hear this, see this, and be inspired to want to go to the doctor for themselves to check. And so, Alvin, I want to come back to you because I'm hearing today the shame and the guilt and the feelings that women have, Black women have, when there's sickness, when, as you described, the honeypot is not all together, when I'm single, when I may not be a mother in the traditional sense. Can you add some context to what Marcia is saying about that, and how really that does impact women who may not fit in those categories, that they don't, they could be childless and not get married, but they feel a certain type of way. Walk us through that whole part of that, and how can us men help deal with that stigma that's so unnecessary for women to have?
Well, there's this saying that love makes room, right? And to truly love someone is to make room for all of the things that really come with them, right? And so as parents, we experience it with our kids. I mean, those of us who have kids already, in this conversation, whatever form that is, whether those are kids by love or by blood, there are lots of things that we thought were true until we loved somebody who had a different experience of the world, a different worldview, a different set of challenges. And because we love them, we redefine the boundaries over and over and over again, because our love is going to make room for them, even when we don't agree, even when we don't understand, even when it's not our experience. And so, when Sia was talking about, when she finds her forever person, she will know that person really wants to be with her because of the room that they will have to make to be able to accommodate all of the layers of who she is as a woman, right? And so when you talk about what we can do as partners, be you male or otherwise, as partners, it's making room for all of the things that come with really loving someone that aren't part of what makes it onto big screen television, right? Because that narrative had been so defined in our, rom-coms, the perfect romance, the show everybody wants to watch, the reality television that is everything but reality. But, like all of that has been defining for us forever, because it's all psychology, it's all marketing, telling you what should be, what beautiful is, what woman is, what man is, what love is, what relationship is, how we define family. All of those things have been fed to us, like one way or the other. And so when we start talking about how are we supportive of someone else, we are saying to that person, I'm not drawing a box that you have to fit inside anymore. What I'm giving you is a blank page, and you come paint on this whatever. This canvas is yours. You paint who you are on this canvas, and I'm going to hold it up as art. And so if we can do that for each other, it changes the mental health of everybody. Because quite frankly, barring the chemical imbalances, and let's be clear, that is real in mental health, guys. We can't pray away the chemical issues, all right? So like we've got to get the treatment first. And I'm not, as a believer, I'm not underestimating or undervaluing the miraculous. I'm just saying until the miraculous happens, y'all, let's treat that bipolarity and schizophrenia, okay? Let's treat it so we could all be healthy and safe. Let's treat the anxiety and the depression. Let's get the support that we need. And if God is going to do something in his omnipotent, omnipresent, all-powerful way, that means you don't have to use medicine anymore, then we are here to celebrate the victory. But what we do not want is the defeat that is a byproduct of not getting the help and the support that we need. So that help and support is not just about what happens at the doctor or the therapist, which is so valuable. It's also about the community that nurtures and supports the individual. And when we make room, it's like giving water to someone who is thirsty. We all thirst for a space where we are seen, we're heard, we're valued, and we're understood. And we're not asked to fit inside of someone else's box. And we all carry those boxes. Having someone who loves you enough to take down all of those walls and say, just be you, babe, and that's enough for me, that's how you support someone.
Yeah, and that's good, Alvin. And I do want the listening audience to know that should you decide to want to make room for Sia, she's got a brother, but she got three other brothers up here too.
Wait a minute.
And Jason and I will gladly do the bad boy scene, and Ton will lock you up. So I just want to be clear in this making room.
This is not helping the cause.
She's like the help. She's smart, she's kind, and she's beautiful. And if anybody come for her sideways, you gonna have to go through us. I feel John 14:6. Todd, I know that's New Testament. No man gets to see her but through me. I'm just trying to tell you how it's gonna be. I feel the Holy Ghost.
And I hope that the listening audience will continue to pray for all three of y'all. Because y'all need it.
I didn't even say anything this time.
You got a brother and your dad, but you got three brothers, two up here, four brothers, because Ray ain't even here. That whoever gonna have to make room, for us too, because we coming along wherever this thing going.
Y'all just made me single for forever just with that.
No. We heavyweights. So we don't like weights. We heavyweights.
Don't ask Alvin. Alvin already knows. She knows
So,
her resume.
We heavyweights.
Listen, we protect our babies, okay? All I'm saying is I might not be responsible for what they're gonna do. But I will be coaching said person on the proper way to take care of my sister. Okay,
I love y'all.
Clear.
We just gonna start with basic information. I need social security number, driving record. I need academic history, where you worked the past 10 years, who your daddy is. I just need to know certain stuff before we
And
get
this is why
I would
I
say
put my
this, though.
head down, I do my work, and I mind my business because I can't.
I'll say this. Swan says that in joking and jest, but that's what we missing in our community, where we have our Black kings protecting our Black queens. Like oftentimes
Amen.
you all have to go out and wear so
Amen.
much on your shoulders, and then you come home and then you gotta do other stuff. But like Swan says that in joking and jest, but real talk, if they don't come correct, they will go back incorrect. Bless the name of God, because I was just reprimanded. I can't say everything with the Commonwealth attorney online, but they will be sitting back.
We're just returning to sender.
See what I'm saying?
I mean, if y'all looking at
I
Sia like
always
we
say-
looking at her, if you're watching her on Zoom, she's got a lot to offer y'all. And so whoever's gonna be making room,
What is this?
you gotta make room for the four of us. That's all I'm
Let's
saying.
get back on track. Let's get
We
back
just
on track.
no. It just need to be said.
It need to be said.
It just need to be said, because we like we always say, don't let that suit fool you. Don't let
That's
that
it.
suit fool you.
We's dating, we's getting married.
We's.
What time they come to pick us up?
We's.
No.
You
so
marry
ow,
you
ow.
marry a family, okay?
That's
Like,
it.
you
There
marry
are going to
the
be
whole
so
family.
many
This is the
nights of
pastor studying
Netflix
mafia.
by
is what it is.
myself coming up.
No,
So Tom,
no.
let me come to you, man, because we got to land this plane on
Oh,
this show. It's been so
God.
enlightening today. And so hearing their stories about what's really striking me the most today, Tom, is just hearing Sia and Al talk about their worth. If things like, you can't control sickness, but still how their worth is attached to how we treat people, even though they're sick, and we expect them to act like they're well. And I'm just I'm struck by that. I am struck by how we create a narrative that they're supposed to be perfect. When I say we, because we know it's a male-dominated culture in society.
It is.
We have created this narrative that they have to be perfect, even in sickness, man. That's just troubling to me.
So one of the things that as men that we have to recognize is we have to see our ladies. And when I say we see you, we see all of you. And so that means we see your worth, we see your value, we see your beauty. And it doesn't have to be the conventional beauty that man or marketing or magazines try to promote, but the essence of all of the beauty in the various forms that they come in. And we celebrate all of it equally and frequently, because we do not do that. What we do is we celebrate what man or Hollywood or the streets may say should be beauty or should be this or that. And we have to break those stereotypes. We have to expose them and be willing to stand in the gaps. Because one of the things that we have to recognize is, and I take this as a chapter out of Martin Luther King's playbook. One of the things that he did is he recognized, in order to break the back of racism during the 60s, that he needed white America to come on board and say, this is wrong. So if you're trying to break the back of stereotypical gender bias, we need men to stand up, men with influence, men with platforms, men with visibility and affluence, to say, this is wrong. I'm not having it. And if I see it, not only am I going to call it out, but I'm going to be in a position to punish it when I see it. That is what I take from this show.
100%. And we can start saying that now, because we have positions of influence in what we do. Wrong. It's dead wrong to reduce, first of all, most of our women to sexual objects, which is what our culture is doing. And how can you even think of yourself in that fashion when, as Alvin described, she's essentially bleeding for 51 days, or Marcia is dealing with these issues since 16 years old. That's the furthest thing I mean, so we have to, and I'm just glad we can have these conversations. And I'm glad that you all will be willing to be transparent. Alvin, you talked about fibroids. You know, my wife went through that experience. I know most Black women have dealt with some measure
Absolutely.
of fibroids.
Very
Right?
prominent for us as women of
Mhm.
color, more than any other culture.
Yes.
Statistically, we experience it more than anybody else.
So how come we don't have more of these conversations? Do
Right.
you feel like that men are just not, they're too insensitive, that we just won't get it? Or how can we have more of these types of conversations? So, you know, Tom, you talked about seeing the beauty in the work. We got to do better at seeing the pain.
Mm.
We are overlooking the pain.
Mm.
And maybe that's the conversations that we need to have more of. And so how can we do that, ladies?
And Kev, can I piggyback on that? And how can we not see the pain, because we grew up with Black women?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, part of that is, yes, and my mother went through health issues, but
Yes, mine did
when
too.
she had it, she just simply said, I gotta have female surgery, right?
And then talk about it.
Well,
because
what
that's
is
not
that?
what we do. Yeah.
Yeah,
we
well,
don't
what
talk
is
about
that?
it. Yeah.
Right? So it has to be more than that. Maybe we have to normalize talking about the very things that you actually are going through, instead of, you know, just putting it all in one little imaginary category that we are to figure out because we don't know.
And can I step in right there? Because Kev, as you're mentioning that, you know, your wife, who's really like my sister, Treese went through fibroids. Had we not had this conversation years ago, the person who performed my surgery, I found because of Treese. Because had I not had a conversation with her, what I was facing, the prognosis, the options, I would have had to shut down my company for a period of time, because one of the methods of being able to treat it was much longer in terms of recovery. And it was Treese who literally shared with me her experience that ultimately turned into me using the same surgeon that she used to go through the procedure that ultimately changed my life. It gave me my life back, but only through conversation was that possible. So what Sia is doing today, you have no idea the impact, the ripple effect of being able to do it and how it saves lives. It might just seem like my story, but the thing is that in Christ, there's no my story. You know, it's our story. And every time we recognize that we are our brother's keeper, that what we go through is not just for us, we realize that our power is in our connection. Our power is in our nakedness. Our power is in our vulnerability. Like in the garden, who told you you were naked? Because we are in our best form when we are naked. It is when we start hiding ourselves that the power of God is not able to flow through us.
1000%. And we're almost out of time, but see, I want to give you the remaining time that we have left today, because, you know, you've been so brave to share your story. First of all, for those who may not have read the article, is the article still out there? Can somebody still see it? Where can they go to really read about it? And maybe, Jason, we can find that article and put it on our pastor study page where people can go to it. But is it available?
Yeah, so the article was actually letting people know about a roundtable that I was having, and it was a virtual platform. So if you go to delegatemarciaprice.com, you can actually see the video from that, the article that talked about my story and the important things. There's how to get active in PCOS Challenge, which is the national organization that's fighting for advocacy around this. Amaria is up there and talks about her coming to me and talking to me, who is now a medical student, and was spurred because of her experience in wanting to be a better doctor for her patients than what was available to her. And we also even have my one of my makeup artists that is just amazing, Tiara Carroll, talk about some of the makeup that we use, that some of those chemicals, the forever chemicals, can actually make health conditions worse. And so how we can be conscious about the beauty products that we choose, all of that. If you click on the button, PCOS button at delegatemarciaprice.com. And I mean, I am not going to cry. But I just would like to say that this space right here, we laugh and joke and we play, but I take this space as a sacred space, because this safety that we have amongst ourselves and that we offer, to other people when we do the show, those are the types of places that we have to recreate, those safe spaces, so that we can eradicate the shame, embrace the love, like Alvian said, make the space so that all these other things that we're going to talk about this month can also get addressed too. It is that silence that is killing us. And I am forever grateful for this platform to be able to break that silence.
Well, we love you, and we're very proud of you. And I think that it's important that we do shows like this, because I think people look at us as, people engaged in the community, and they think we got it all together. They think that, there's nothing going on in our life, that it's always been sunshine and no rain. And this kind of helps people to understand that, there is struggle for everybody, right? Yeah. Nobody's exempt from pain and issues. And yet, in spite of that, you have still been able to lead the 95th. In spite of what you've been able to go through, you're still doing great at VA block. I mean, this is fantastic. And so we have to end the day. We're going to continue that.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
We've got 2 more minutes before we have to get off. I just as a note, I want to say hi to Adrian. And when I say Adrian, I happen to have been at the train station for a wonderful jazz experience, courtesy of Kisa, who gave me tickets. I'm grateful for all of that. But Adrian heard me laugh at the table, and she said, "What is your last name?" And I was like, "Lyons." She was just like, "I listen to you all every lunchtime. And I don't let anything interfere with my lunchtime so that I can hear you guys." And we're talking about a perfect stranger, and just the love of this beautiful sister, just that quick, because of just the moments that you were talking about, Sia, that we create, that these people are like family to us, and you don't even know how much family we have out there. I just want to say thank you to our listening audience, for letting us into their lives the way that they do. Adrian, you are just the sweetest thing. God bless you and your man, just do your thing, but I just want to say that it's so much bigger than us, and we are truly privileged and honored to be invited into the lives of the people who make this show great, because you all will give us, you guys give us space, you make room for us, and that's love.
That is love. And maybe, Albie, we need to get back on the road. Who knows?
We might need, we're finding ways
another show
beyond COVID. We might need to create some space.
Go back and do a live show in the community.
Absolutely.
Might have to do that. We got to run. Sia, thank you so much for your bravery and your courage today. Awesome job. And thank you to all who are listening or watching today. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. This is Smooth 88.1 WHOV, iHeartRadio, right here, y'all, on Facebook Live.